What is going on, Peep Squad? Today we're talking about Wandavision episode 2 and 3. And
Yep.
yeah, but also at the end, I want to potentially talk about a leak that I saw on the internet.
Oh,
I'm going to save
interesting.
that for the end in
Yeah.
case you don't want to be spoiled. So, anyway,
Before we start, can I just say, it seems like there's kind of like two main factions to viewers watching this show, and
hmm
I'm sort of in the middle. So there's like the casual Marvel fans, general audience, like my
yeah,
mom and some of my friends who are like watching this, like, what the hell is going on? Like, I have no idea. Like, what? Why are they in a sitcom? What the frick? And then
yeah,
there's like the Marvel stands who are like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. Yeah, like down to the last, it's
for
like
sure.
that leaf over there means that Nick Fury's gonna pop out of the, it's like what,
Yeah,
and I'm sort of in the middle where I'm like, I think I know where this is going, but it's just a theory. I'm sure there's gonna be surprises. I don't know for sure,
yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so the first episode was sort of like an inspiration of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and then the
yeah,
second one is Bewitched
yeah, exactly.
and like I Dream of
Eh,
Jeannie and stuff like that, sort
Yeah,
of late 60s.
yeah,
One thing that I really like about just kind of the series in general, I mentioned this a little bit in the first episode, is that I like the way that the they try to mimic the not only the effects but the way that like the sets are set up and the
yeah.
camera angles and stuff of that era. And so as the show progresses, it sort of gets more and more advanced in the technique of the way that they film it. And I thought that was really
Right,
cool.
right. Yeah, it's true. And they even kind of make the interior of the house like mimic the house of the actual shows,
Right.
which is interesting. I did notice like they even changed quite a bit from like the first episode to the second episode. The house looks pretty darn different, which
Yeah,
is
it's a different
interesting.
house.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that's part of the story or they just decided to change the set. I don't know. I feel
Right,
like it's
right.
probably part of the story considering it seems like they're kind of filming this like a movie. Like all at once and like it's all just sort of like
hmm
one big story instead of like network TV shows that are like contained stories
Yeah,
for the most part. But
right, right. And
yeah,
yeah, so the whole crux of this episode is basically they have to put on this talent show, which is interesting. The
yeah.
interesting thing about it is that there's a large emphasis for the children, and that's
Oh yeah,
mentioned
I
a
forgot
lot
about
in the
that.
show. And so whoever is potentially doing this to Wanda, I think that the end goal is to somehow get her children and then manipulate them to do whatever
Right.
evil thing, whether that's Mephisto or the Grim Reaper or whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's kind of the end goal of their plan.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's an interesting theory. But yeah, like pretty much this whole episode, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but I think there were like
Right.
two or no, there were three main things that are technically like really what people came to see this show for.
hmm
Like there's that one thing where Wanda goes outside, she like hears some sound, she goes outside and finds a toy helicopter,
Right.
which is interesting because it's like it's in color for one thing,
hmm
and it has a sword logo on it. So part of me wonders if it isn't like kind of like a disguised drone or something. But I don't know. And then because why would it have the sword logo on it? It's kind
Right.
of. And then the second thing that happened in the episode that was kind of strange was when Wanda was talking to Dottie like after
Yeah.
the meeting or whatever. I forget what it was, like some community meeting, and um, the Beach Boys was playing on the radio, but then there was
hmm
interference and there was somebody saying like, Wanda, who's doing this to you? And then
Right.
it almost seemed like Dottie broke out of a trance. Like for a second, she was like, "Who are you?
hmm
What's going on?" And then
Yeah.
she broke the glass in her hand on accident,
hmm
and like her blood was red, which I thought was interesting. There were like
Right.
a couple things this episode where we saw color, you know, which I
hmm
thought was interesting. And then the third and final thing that was like pretty odd in this episode was when, well, besides Wanda just becoming pregnant out of nowhere, like she
Right.
and Vision are just talking, and all of a sudden, boop, there we go, baby bump.
Yeah.
But then there's like a crash outside, and the two of them run outside, and there's like this freaking beekeeper for some reason
Yeah.
coming out of the sewer, out of the manhole, but
hmm
he has a sword logo on his back, which is
Right.
interesting. Like, why the beekeeper suit? I don't know. But what's interesting was what happens next. Wanda says, like, no, and she basically, like, rewinds what happens and, like, replays the scene.
Right.
I'm assuming the way she wanted it to play out to begin with.
hmm And so for me, that kind of implies that, yes, there's someone manipulating Wanda, but to a certain extent, she kind of has control over whatever's going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
to one degree or another.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to say my theory, like, towards the end of the episode.
Okay.
It's sort of
Yeah.
like an either this could happen or this, but we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. I just wanted to say one more thing about episode 2 is that
Yeah.
um, Agatha, her name's Agatha, right?
No,
Or
you
is it
were. It was Agnes, the like Catherine
Agnes?
Hahn character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Her rabbit's name is Senor Scratchy, which literally is a name for the devil.
Oh my god! Really, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's holy crap. That's actually kind of creepy. Yikes! Evil
Yeah,
rabbit.
so
No, I don't know. Dang. All right.
yeah, I don't know if that
Well,
means
that makes it
anything or
interesting.
just a little reference, but
Yeah. Huh.
one more thing. She said in the
Yeah.
first episode that her wedding anniversary was June 2nd, which that was the date of the Salem witch trials as well. So something really
Holy
weird is
crap.
going on with
Dude,
her.
yeah. So I find it interesting too. She keeps mentioning her husband, like Richard or whatever
Yeah.
his name is,
I
and
think it's Ralph.
Ralph. She keeps mentioning her
Yeah.
husband, but he never shows up. Like every other
Right.
character we see, but she always mentions her husband. Like she mentions him at least two times per episode, or at least once per episode, and we never see him. Which I don't know if that's gonna like play into the main story or not. But I just found that interesting.
Right.
So yeah, I guess moving on to episode 3.
Okay.
So WandaVision now in color. No.
Right. And so a couple things I noticed during the title sequence is that
Yeah.
basically during every title sequence there's a lot of hexagons, and so I don't know if that necessarily means anything. Yeah, so episode 3 is obviously the Brady Bunch. One thing I noticed during the title sequence is when Vision's on the bike, he goes past a movie marquee, and
Yeah.
it says Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah.
And so I don't really know what that means, other than that was a Sam Raimi movie, and Sam Raimi's potentially doing Doctor Strange too. That's the only
true.
correlation that I came up with.
That's interesting too because that movie didn't come out till like 2016.
2013.
Oh,
Yeah.
really is that old? Yeah, so 2013. So like that's interesting
Yeah.
that it's like a modern thing in the sort of 70s era that the town's in right now. But yeah, this whole episode was pretty much just about Wanda like being pregnant, like, and very quickly going through the pregnancy, like pretty much over the course of like 1 or 2 days, and then popping out twins. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot that happened until like the end of the episode. I know in the comics, like I'm thinking they're going for this, but who knows if they'll ever show the kids like grown up. But in the comics, Wanda had twins, Wiccan and
Speed.
Speed, right? Yeah. So I don't know. Were they the same names, Tommy and Billy, in the comics?
Tommy, yes,
they were.
names,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. So yeah, that's a main thing. Who knows if like that's gonna be a part of the MCU later or not, or if it's just like part of the show because they're just babies now.
It seems like they could potentially go that route because they're introducing Kate Bishop as well as Cassie Lang in future movies. We know that they're a thing, so we could be seeing the Young Avengers or something like that at some point in the future.
America Chavez too. I think she might have been part of the group at one point. I'm not sure though. I think the most interesting, unless you can think of anything, the most interesting thing happened at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple of little things. Herb was hedge trimming, and then he cuts through the wall. He kind of like glitches out, sort of like an NPC in a video game.
Right.
And then he's talking to Agatha about
Agnes.
Agnes, yeah. I don't know. I just mix them up. They're so close.
I mean, yeah, they are.
They're talking about Monica also in this reality. I don't remember her name. Geraldine.
Geraldine. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're talking about her, and there's a moment where he almost tells Vision what's happening.
Yeah.
But Agatha stops him, and it seems like she's genuinely afraid in that moment. Yeah. So that could be potentially hinting at there's maybe someone other than her doing this. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's interesting too because pretty much the whole series so far, everybody in like basically every like side character who's not Wanda and Vision is like seems almost like they're totally sold on this reality, and like they're almost in a
Right.
trance, like when that
Hmm.
interference came through and Dottie kind of seemed like she broke out of a trance. There's been a couple things like that, so I found it
Yeah.
interesting. It seems like Agnes and Herb or whatever, like knows,
Yeah.
kind of knows what's going on. I don't know if it was like a moment of knowing or if they do know.
Right.
It's just kind of
Hmm.
interesting, but yeah, and then obviously the very end was interesting, where Wanda was like getting suspicious of Geraldine because she said so.
Hmm.
Like Wanda said something about her brother, and
Yeah.
then Geraldine
Hmm.
said, oh, he was killed by Ultron. And this is like one of the first times we've had like an actual mention of the wider MCU, besides at the first episode where Vision mentioned Sokovia, and like
Yeah.
that Wanda was from Sokovia. But other than that,
Hmm.
there hasn't been any reference to anything like other events that have happened outside the MCU,
Right.
and that seemed to sort of like freak Wanda out, sort of like
Yes.
snap her out of her bliss or
Hmm.
whatever, her having kids. And after that she sort of like came at Geraldine as like, who the frick
Yeah.
are you, and then at the
Hmm.
very end obviously she launches her out of
Right.
the town basically, and she
Yeah.
like, which is weird because like you'd think she might have like a broken back or something from that, but
Uh-huh.
I guess she's okay. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is like we saw that scene in the trailers,
Hmm.
which kind of suggested where the show was going before it even came out, and like I talked
Right.
about it in like a breakdown of the trailer like a few
Hmm.
months ago. But yeah, that's interesting. And then obviously at the very end we have like all these trucks and a helicopter, and there's obviously like a temporary like military like base like outside of
Right.
this town of Westview.
Hmm. There's just two things about that I wanted to point out.
Yeah,
Going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, how just like the technical aspects of the era, and but when she gets launched out of the dome or whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
the aspect ratio
Oh,
changes
yeah, that's
to
true. I noticed
16
that.
by 9, which is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
but then so something that's interesting that could potentially have a greater effect is that she was still in her 70s clothes when she got launched
That's
out,
that's that's a good
and
point.
that could potentially hint at something. Whatever happens in the dome is permanent. That could hint towards that. And so I don't know the wider consequences of that, but that just, you know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
could,
that's an interesting
yeah,
thing.
I don't
Is an
know.
interesting point. Yeah, so that's pretty much like the breakdown of the two episodes. They're both pretty short.
Hmm.
I kind of want to like
Yeah,
say real quick what I think might be happening, but I don't know for
yeah.
sure. So basically, it seems like there's one. To me, it seems like there's one of two options. So
Hmm.
one, they could do what basically people have been suggesting for a while, and people have like been hinting or at least theorizing that Mephisto is going to be the big bad in Doctor
Right.
Strange 2, and so then they thought like, oh well, since WandaVision's directly tied to that, Mephisto must be the bad guy in this. So
Yeah.
I think it might be possible that Mephisto is like manipulating Wanda, and he's
Hmm.
either the one altering reality, or she is like she's sort of
Yeah.
like unlocked that power which we haven't seen before, but
Hmm.
and he's kind of controlling her,
Yeah.
and making her do stuff, or at least manipulating her into doing things. It does seem like she's in
Hmm.
control over this reality, so
Right.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's her powers. But I think the other option, it might be sort of like a loose adaptation of like the House of M storyline,
Yeah.
where Wanda kind of had a breakdown and basically just altered reality, and
Right.
changed everything, and like made her family like rulers of the universe, or rulers of the earth, basically.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if maybe she didn't kind of have a bit of a breakdown after
Right.
Vision died, because we only really saw her like when she did her thing in Endgame. She had
Yeah.
basically just like Vision had just died for her, and we
Right.
really haven't seen her trying to cope with Vision's death after that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe she didn't kind of like have a bit of a breakdown and just sort of like
Hmm.
take over this like ideal suburb town, and is
Right.
basically just altering reality. And I wonder if like she didn't like grow up on these shows like Bewitched and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and she isn't sort of like just projecting that onto her like ideal family life with Vision.
Hmm.
Um,
One thing to your second theory, the bottle of wine that they were
mhm.
drinking in episode one, the
Yeah,
title, the label on that literally translates to the House of Misery, and
interesting.
so that could potentially hint towards the
Maybe.
House of M.
Yeah, and there's another part that in episode 2, I forgot to mention this. They have
Hmm.
this ad for like a watch, and it's like a
Yes.
Strucker watch, but
Right.
Strucker, like Baron von Strucker, was like one of the head Hydra guys in the modern day,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
even has a Hydra symbol on the actual watch. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that was just like an Easter egg or somehow that's like Hydra's involved. I don't know, but I
Right.
feel like the actual show is going to be somewhere in the middle of my two theories. Like I think
Okay.
maybe Mephisto's involved, but maybe like Wanda was already like kind of had
Yeah.
like was
Yeah.
fragile emotionally and mentally, and that made it easier for Mephisto to kind of control her or something. I don't know,
Hmm.
but it does seem like she is definitely in charge of this reality, and that she is trying to create like just basically her perfect life, you know, her ideal
Yeah.
life. Like she even
Yeah.
said like when she like launched Geraldine out, and Vision was like, "Where's Geraldine?" You know, and she's like, "She had to go," and it was almost like a weird, like almost like
Yeah.
sinister the way she was
Hmm.
like looking and talking. I'm like, "Oh boy, she's really bent on this
Yeah.
reality." But no matter what's going on in there, it's obvious that Sword is like monitoring what's going on and trying to figure it
Right.
out, and they set up like
Right.
a temporary base outside. And
Hmm.
we already know that like Geraldine is Monica Rambeau, like just from
Yeah.
cast
Yeah.
announcements and stuff, and we know she's working for Sword because there have
Hmm.
been set photos like released a while ago that showed her, like outside the Sword building or something, and
Right.
so it seems like they're sending in agents, or at least they sent in Monica to like sort of see
Yeah.
what's going on, and she's either been undercover this whole time, or she has been like under a trance and like kind of got caught up with it.
Right.
I'm not sure, but like what you were saying about the clothing, it
Hmm.
could be that, yeah, like once reality's changed, it's changed, which
Yeah.
could have effects on Vision coming back.
Right. Right.
Or it could be that they like provided her with like the proper clothing to blend in. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah. For
but
sure.
I do find it interesting if she is totally undercover. Why is she black and white like the rest of them?
Hmm.
And that's an interesting thing too. Why was that beekeeper dude that came out of the thing? Like, why is he? Because it seems like he's somebody that Sword sent in too. Why is he
Right.
black and white? Because we already saw that like red and yellow colored helicopter thing. So like,
Yeah.
what? when do things sort of blend in with reality, and when do they not? It's like so confusing.
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel like at the end, like nobody's theory is gonna be 100% correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be revealing a lot the next 3 episodes.
Right. It seems like the further we go, the more they
Yeah.
reveal.
And we
Um.
already know that Ray Park, not Ray Park, Randall Park, his character from Ant-Man and the Wasp is involved with this. So I'm
Mhm.
guessing he's like a consultant with Sword or something. And then we know that
Right.
um, Darcy from the Thor movie, she's gonna have a role in it somehow. Who knows
Okay.
how? But yeah,
Yeah.
she's supposed to be in it. So I don't know how that's gonna work. I'm guessing they're both consulting with Sword for some reason. But
Then I just wanted to potentially talk about a potential leak, which could have major
oh yeah,
ramifications. So
yeah.
if
So
you don't
spoilers.
if you don't want to hear about that, end the video now. But so here we go. There was a Spanish actor on Twitter who confirmed that he would be dubbing over the lines for Evan Peters' Quicksilver in this series. And
Evan
so
Peters
Evan Peters
Quicksilver.
played Quicksilver in the
Interesting.
X-Men movies.
Interesting.
And so that was different. So either what could happen is one of
Yeah.
two things. I was thinking that maybe it's just like a brief cameo and he's just here as they're like flipping through realities or something.
Yeah.
Or this show could potentially fold the X-Men into the MCU through Wanda's whatever
Yeah.
abilities, which would be cool because we already know that Ryan Reynolds is going to be part of the MCU. And
Yeah.
so that could be it or could not be. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that
Yeah, that's
potentially
an
happening.
interesting leak. So I feel like, yeah, I've heard rumors too that like Aaron Taylor Johnson was gonna like appear in this series, but that's
Right.
just a rumor. I'm thinking, yeah, like you're saying, it might be just kind of like a cameo. Like they might sort of introduce the
Mhm.
multiverse real quick, and then like do it big time with
Right.
Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2. So
Yeah.
that's a possibility, or like you said, they might fold the X-Men because it seemed there. I saw a clip where they were showing how Wanda actually got her powers. Like they were just showing the stone and like
Hmm.
her with the stone. So I'm wondering if they aren't going to reveal that she's a mutant or something now that they have the rights. That they might like say like
Right.
technically it
Right.
wasn't actually the stone. It was like the stone like unlocking her mutant abilities or something
Yeah.
like that. That'd be
Mhm.
interesting. I think another interesting thing that might happen, which probably won't, but it would be weird and but kind of funny if they did, is like they have the kids like grow up through the course of the series, and like
Yeah,
Evan Peters plays Speed.
that would be very
That'd be
interesting.
kind of funny, but wouldn't really make it would like be confusing, but it'd be kind of funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting though. That's an interesting leak there.
Hmm.
I'll be keeping an eye out for that. That'd be
Yeah, for sure.
huh. Yeah, I am really looking forward to like I'm not super excited for a lot of the stuff Marvel's doing, like
Hmm.
Eternals and stuff. I couldn't care less, but
Right.
all the multiverse stuff sounds very interesting with like this Spider-Man
Yeah.
3 and Doctor Strange 2. I'm really looking forward to see what
And
they
yeah,
do with
even
that.
Loki and What If kind
Yeah,
of go into
yeah.
that as well.
So, thank you everyone for watching, and
Yep.
thank you so much to everyone that's subscribed, especially recently. We got a lot of subscribers. Thank you so much. Like,
Right.
thank you so much for subscribing and watching and liking our videos. Please hit like on this video, and if
Hmm.
you are new to the channel, please subscribe. And
Yep.
be sure to check out the Instagram and our podcast, Twitter, all that stuff. All those links are in the description.
Yep.
And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all soon.
Peace.